All right, what's up? What is up? It's a Friday. I wanted to go live because why the heck not? I'm excited about Greg Roman. I want to talk about Greg Roman, and I guess we'll just do a Q&A. I know a lot of people probably aren't going to be here. I know a lot of people on a Friday afternoon, you're grinding, you're going home early, probably go home early after this. And maybe that's what I'm going to do after this too. Maybe record a video and then get on out of here. But hope everybody's well. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully all the stuff works in here too. But yeah, I want to go live because we didn't put on an episode today because we already put out 2 this week. Go check out the defensive report card episode that we put out on Monday that nobody's going to see because a couple hours after that, Matt Nagy was hired, and then we did another episode. So we put out 2 this week. I really like the defensive report card episode. We're going to do an offensive player report card one on Monday as well. So what's up? Yeah, I'm going to do a Q&A. Got questions. I did my first mock draft this morning. And it was obviously a lot of Senior Bowl based kinds of guys, but it was cool to see just a bunch of Senior Bowl guys kind of pop up all throughout the consensus board, especially on day 2 and day 3. It really sucks that the Giants don't have that 3rd round draft pick. I mean, when you even do your mock drafts, you're going to be sitting there from round 2 to their round 4 pick, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is going on forever. I want to do something. Look at all these players that are going off the board. And it's going to feel 25,000 times longer if they don't find a way to actually get a 3rd round pick between waiting at the top of the 2nd round and then you got to wait a whole day. Yeah, because that would be it. Day 2 is round 2 and round 3. So then that would be it. They're top of the 2nd round pick. So hope everybody's doing well. Get in here, like the stream and everything like that. The notification just went out just now. What the heck is up with that? All right, let's talk about Greg Roman. Why I'm really excited about Greg Roman. And so his title was announced that we didn't really know last night. His title is Senior Offensive Assistant. He's going to be working with the run game. I mean, that's certainly my hope, and that's definitely the expectation. Greg Roman, 9 out of Greg Roman's 12 years as offense coordinator. He's been an offense coordinator for 12 years, not consecutively, but going back to the 49ers with Jim Harbaugh. 9 out of Greg Roman's 12 years as offensive coordinator, he's been top 4 in total rushing yards. And this is what I love even more than just total rushing yards. Because obviously when you have an offense that just runs the ball a lot, you can finish top 10, top 5 in rushing yards somewhat easily, even if you're not overly efficient. But 8 out of those years, his offense has also been top 5 in yards per attempt. That is nuts, man. That is nuts. Nuts. Again, that's not just a sample size of, oh, you got Lamar Jackson. No, man, that's sample size of a long, long time. Same thing with Harbaugh since 2008. The Ravens, number 1 in yards per attempt. That's not just Derrick Henry and Lamar. And by the way, with Greg Roman, never even had Derrick Henry. It was just Lamar. And I'm pretty sure Lamar, and it was Kenneth Murray in 2019. Or no, not 2019, excuse me. In 2022, those were the 2 running backs, the 2 backs for them, the 2 ball carriers for them that led the team in rush attempts, and they were still doing things. So if there's one thing that Greg Roman's good at, it's designing a run game. The last 2 years with the Chargers, they have just been decimated by injuries, and also kind of credit to Greg Roman a little bit, just as a play caller, I guess. We kind of thought that when he took that Chargers job that, oh my God, Justin Herbert's never going to throw the ball anymore. They were very, 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 very pass happy the last 2 years. And of course, it's Justin Herbert. Why wouldn't you want to use Justin Herbert? But they were just really decimated with injuries, both at running back and on the offensive line. And I would attribute that to being one of the main reasons why that rushing offense didn't look like it should have, not because Greg Roman somehow lost his touch as a run game coordinator. And with him having, I think, a very specific focus here and not being the play caller, I think it's only going to enhance everybody when that was the main concern about Matt Nagy is over the last 3 years, the Chiefs rushing offense. It's not that they weren't good. It's just that they were definitely not explosive. 2023 and 2024, they did a very good job of staying on schedule. They were the best team in the NFL at runs between 4 to 9 yards, the Kansas City Chiefs. But in 2025, it kind of really, really fell apart. Joe Thuney gets traded away for a bag of chips. Still don't know why. He wins Protector of the Year last night, which very, very good for him and awesome for the Chicago Bears. That was an insane trade. Just we'll just take the league's best interior offensive lineman for nothing. third, fourth round pick. That was an insane trade. Like when they made that, it's like, why didn't 31 other teams? Why didn't 30 other teams? Why didn't they think to do this if the Chiefs were willing to offer Joe Thuney for that? Are you kidding me? So and then even going back to his days with the Chicago Bears, just Matt Nagy, not what you want as a visionary in mind for the run game. So literally, like the main concern that I had wiped away. It's like I needed Matt Nagy. I needed them to bring in a run game coordinator, and they 100% did that. Also, if you like more advanced stuff, Greg Roman. They were from 2019 to 2022, the years that he was the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. They were number 1 in EPA per play. The only team in the NFL with a positive EPA per play, with a positive EPA per rushing attempt in that span, which is nuts. Success rate, they were number 2, 45.6%. The Eagles were number 1 at 45.7%. Yards per attempt, they were number 1 in the league at 5.1 rushing yards per attempt. Now, this is where it helps to have Lamar as this kind of running quarterback and scrambling. But it was a lot of designed runs with Lamar Jackson. The scramble rate went up with Todd Monken, like 15% on a year-to-year basis. It went up. And if you listen to the show, you know I've talked a lot about that. But Tom Monken's not here. F him. Taking away all of our damn staff members. The yards per attempt, number 1, 5.1, 2019 to 2022 with Greg Roman. They were the only team that was above 5, which is, again, nuts. First down rate, number 1 at 31%. They were the only team in the National Football League through 2019 to 2022 to have a over 30% first down rate. They were number 1. Runs of 10-plus yards, they were number 1 with 332. The next closest was 283. And again, that's crazy to me. Like, this is not, like, you have yes, Lamar Jackson is a weapon, right? But they did not. Derrick Henry was not in this backfield from 2019 to 2022. He was a Tennessee Titan. And they did not have great running backs. Like, we can even go through it on a year-by-year basis of who was actually carrying the ball. But they had all those runs of 10-plus yards, an explosive rushing offense. Those running backs, I feel much better about the running backs that we have right now. I feel better about Cam Skattebo. I feel better about Tyrone Tracy than really any of the running backs that they've had. I mean, 2019, it was Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. Okay, Mark Ingram, really good year. A couple years there with Baltimore. 1,018 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. I feel better about Cam Skattebo and Tyrone Tracy, maybe even both of them over Mark Ingram at age 30, right? Gus Edwards at age 24, early in his career, got 133 carries as well. That was 2019. Sorry if you hear construction, by the way. I hope you can't hear that. I'm in the middle of a warehouse in Jersey City under the Pulaski Bridge. Pulaski Skyline, I should say. Lamar Jackson in 2020 led the Ravens in carries with 159. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins had 144 and 134. Again, like, I think I feel better about Scat and Cam. You know, maybe they're comparable. Maybe the duo of Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins at that point are comparable to Tyrone Tracy and Cam Skattebo, right? Mark Ingram was on the 2020 team as well. He was 4th in carries on the team. 2021 Ravens, they had Devonta Freeman, 133 carries, and Latavius Murray that year. And they still had, at that point, they were 5th in yards per attempt, 3rd in rushing yards with Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray. Ew, what is that? And then 2022, Greg Roman's final year, which they arguably kept him as OC for 1 year too long in Baltimore. Yeah, Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake got 109 carries. Lamar Jackson got 112. In 2022, J.K. Dobbins had 92. Gus Edwards had 87. Justice Hill was on that team too. They had like 4 running backs at that point that they were kind of consistently kind of relying on there. How do you like that? Mike Davis got 8 carries. Who? Yeah, so that's Greg Roman. Again, the main concern of Matt Nagy is you kind of feel like he's going to have a grasp on the passing game, RPOs, quick concepts, horizontal-based offense. Jackson Dart is a quarterback that I feel like he can do a good job of layering the football over the middle of the field, and I think that's the stuff that Matt Nagy is going to bring. A lot of pre-snap motion. What I'm most curious about now is, and I don't think Greg Roman will drastically change this. I think it just makes me feel more confident about the run game and the design of the run game. But what I'm really thinking about now is, what is the personnel packages going to look like? Is you have Harbaugh, who since Lamar has been drafted has been so 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and heavy packages, right? And then you have Matt Nagy, who's coming from the 11 personnel type of background, shotgun first background, RPO based shotgun background. So what is this personnel going to look like? Are we going to be an offense that goes very heavy personnel wise? It's like, I still want Patrick Ricard to come in here, but in a Matt Nagy offense, how does that exactly fit? Like, are you going to have a fullback really come in and dominate and get 350 to 400 snaps a year, which does turn out to be around 35 to 40-ish% of the snaps? So I don't know. Like, Matt Nagy was an interesting pairing to begin with because it was so different than what the Ravens have done from a personnel standpoint. But I do think Jackson Dart is a different quarterback than even like Lamar, especially at this. I think Jackson Dart is further along than Lamar was at this time in their careers as a passer. So I think Jackson Dart can handle way more 11 personnel-based looks and things like that too, spread formations and things like that. So I think Jackson Dart's ready. It's not only ready for that. I think it's where he is right now. So I think we'll start to obviously get those answers in free agency, depending on who they bring in. The weight of the offensive line is something that I'm thinking about too. I want this to be a much more heavier unit. I think the best offensive lines in football, the Eagles, the Lions, maybe not so much the Lions anymore, but in years past, I think they just weigh a lot. And I don't think the Giants as a unit are that big. You know what I mean? Andrew Thomas will always be the exception to this, in my opinion. Like, Andrew Thomas is just good. So, like, leave him alone. But he is a lighter player. I think Jermaine Illuminor is probably like a lighter player. Marcus Bowe is definitely a lighter player and not in line with that kind of overall philosophy. The Ravens have always been a heavy unit. I mean, think of Daniel Falele, who they put at guard. He was originally a tackle from the University of Minnesota. Probably not the best example to use, but he's just the one that sticks out in my brain because he's a mammoth of a human being. It's got to be like 6'8", 6'7", and then a huge human being. So I'm wondering how that's approach with the offensive line is even going to go too as well in terms of who they're going to add in free agency. So that's Greg Roman. I'm excited about that. Senior offensive assistant. The Giants were 6th in rushing last year. Amazing guy. What stat is that? That is and this isn't, I'm not even just saying this about you. I can't stand, it's one of my least favorite things on football internet and football Twitter when people just say the Giants were 6th in this team was 10th in that. They were 10th in, what does that mean? So, I mean, just say they were 6th in rushing. Okay, is that yards? Is that yards per attempt? Is that EPA per play? Is that success rate? You have to define what you're talking about because what were they 6th in? I don't know. Total rushing? What's going on, Ryan? What's going on? I mean, we could talk some Super Bowl too. I have some thoughts on the Super Bowl as well. We'll go live for a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll get on out of here, and then everybody will have a good weekend. So we'll talk more about it on Monday with Sean as well. Almost got 100 people in here. Hell yeah, let's go. Yeah, get some questions in here. Think we can get a Higgins, Waddle, Godwin for Kayvon? Maybe a team looking to get cap healthy. I'm not necessarily looking. If I am going to trade Kayvon Thibodeau, I'm not necessarily looking for a player trade for Kayvon. I'm looking for a draft pick. I like the idea of Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'm not looking to do this. Like, I'm not like adding him to the trade block and actively calling teams. But like I said at the start of this stream, I did a mock draft this morning, and man, that round 2 pick going to that round 4 pick, it was painful to even just sit there as the mock draft simulator went 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and in reality, what we're going to have to do for the actual draft is we're going to have to make that round 2 draft selection. If they don't make any moves, right? If they don't trade down at any point, if they don't add any more picks, we're going to be going to bed after that round 2 pick. And then we're going to have to wait until day 3 for the Giants to make their next draft pick. And that sucks. That sucks to have 2 top 100 draft picks. So I would be looking to move Kayvon on day 2 of the draft to add another top 100 pick. And why I like that idea is because you trade away Kayvon Thibodeau, who could be affordable for another team on a 5th-year deal for 1 year, but then they have to deal with extending him. And then you can get out of Kayvon Thibodeau, you can get a player that you can add to your team for 4 years on the cheap, and you have 4 years of team control. That's why I like the idea of trading Kayvon. I also like the idea of possibly keeping him if he plays well and if he's healthy, and you kind of run that risk and you have him here for this 5th year, and then you extend him. And then you have a really, really good problem. And then you have one of the best edge rusher rooms in the NFL for the next however many years. As Abdul Carter's on his rookie deal, as Brian Burns is on his deal that now looks very team-friendly, and Kayvon Thibodeau, that odds are he'll sign a 2 to a 3-year deal, right? I'm also okay with that. But I also like the idea of getting somebody like him out and getting back a day 2 pick, possibly, and having that guy for 4 years affordable. So, good stuff on Greg Roman this week. Yeah, I didn't do a show. This is the closest thing that we're going to get to a show this week on him, but I appreciate you, Anthony. It was when that news broke, man, I felt like only like specific fan bases get like, oh, why are you guys getting so excited about a senior offensive assistant? But I think because of how lukewarm everybody was on Matt Nagy, and the main issue was that his run game sucked, and I don't like his vision for a run game. And then bringing this guy in, it's like, oh yeah, well, who has one of the best visions for a run game in the NFL over the last 15 years, 20 years? It's Greg Roman. So cool. But I appreciate it. What's your opinion on the Rookie of the Year voting? I mean, how many votes did Carter wind up getting? Carter shouldn't have gotten it. I mean, without a doubt. I thought Enamori should have probably gotten it, but I understand why, I understand how that kind of all went down. But if Carter was able to, even for his last 5 games were awesome. His last 5 games, that's where he did the majority of his damage in terms of his box score stats outside of pressures. But you don't win Rookie of the Year based off of pressures. You win Rookie of the Year based off of what you can do in the box score, tackles for loss, tackles, QB hit, sacks. That's how you're going to be able to win Rookie of the Year. So Carter didn't deserve it. But if Carter was even able to extend his last 5 games out to the last 10 games, then I think you're talking about a way different conversation. But I thought Enamori should have. I mean, he's a freak. Fred Warner called him an avatar. how he's running around out there like he's 6'3", like 220 pounds at safety. Like, I think that's a great comparison, like the type of athlete and the type of player that he is out there. Hope he's not too hurt. I think he's struggling with something. Hope he's not too hurt because I want the world to kind of see him on Sunday. Top 3 free agency moves. I don't know yet. I haven't really. I'm going to grind out some more draft stuff before like March. March will be like free agency. I mean, Patrick Ricard, I still would love. Again, I don't know the fit with Patrick Ricard with the personnel groupings that Matt Nagy may want to run. Because again, John Harbaugh comes from this heavy personnel-based offense that they have run with Baltimore since they drafted Lamar Jackson in 2019. Since it was the starter in 2019. And that was the last 6-7 years. And now you're going to bring in Matt Nagy, who's running 11 personnel like 65% of the time with the Bears. And we know Andy Reid likes to spread him out as well. And a very shotgun-based offense. So it's very kind of opposite from each other, right? Very opposite from each other. So I wonder what is that middle ground between Nagy and then the type of Greg Roman, John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens mindset. Is a guy like Patrick Ricard going to fit into this offense? Or like, hey, is a player like Daniel Bellinger, is he going to be like the fullback, the H-back that can be both a tight end and a fullback? I hope they don't fuck around. I hope you just bring in a guy like Patrick Ricard. You want to know why? Because he's just a really good player. He's just a really good player, and he's a kick-ass player. So I'm going to get to free agency in March. Position-wise, I want to go after an interior offensive lineman. I want to give an interior offensive lineman top dollar. I don't know if that's Tyler Linderbaum. Ken McCusick went on Big Blue Banter, and there were people that were saying that what he said on there is that Tyler Linderbaum is a little overrated. That gives me a little pause. Somebody that watches the Ravens, Ken McCusick's great follow film study Ravens. Great follow. I followed him for years since he came on this show a couple years ago, back in 2022. We interviewed him before for the Giants-Ravens games where we beat Lamar, ironically, at MetLife. But if somebody who's watching the Ravens every day is saying that one of their core players is overrated, and a player that could get $20 million on the open market and reset the center market, it gives me a little bit of pause. So, but I would love to prioritize an interior offensive lineman because that is a position that takes time to develop in the draft. You rarely see interior defensive linemen and interior offensive linemen. You will rarely see those guys just flat out hit the ground running and dominate from day one, right? And sometimes you don't have that patience, right? Sometimes it sucks to wait for, like, take Cordell Flott, for example. Sometimes it sucks to wait 4 years for a player to break out. Maybe they don't need to dominate from day one, but at least show you a little something. Sometimes that sucks. So I'd rather just sign like a free agent. I'd rather sign a free agent who I know can kind of contribute from day one, patch up that area, and then go and rock and roll. And then you can draft somebody on day 2, on day 3, as a developmental piece on the offensive line, and then you're not forcing them to play right away. That's why I thought the drafting of Marcus Bowe last year was a perfect pick. A guy that has very high upside, but you're not forcing him to play while you still have a guy like Jermaine Illuminor here. So free agency move-wise, positionally, I am definitely rooting for interior offensive line. I'm rooting for Patrick Ricard. I do think they're going to bring back Wan'Dale. I'm rooting for Jermaine Illuminor. I'm rooting maybe for an interior defensive lineman. I think there's a lot of areas that they're going to need to get cornerback depth, because who's their backup corner? I don't even want Deonte Banks on the team. And if you don't bring back Cordell Flott, then you're talking about needing a starting outside cornerback. There's a lot of things, especially if they choose not to bring back their big 3 free agents, impending free agents. Jermaine Illuminor, Wan'Dale Robinson, Cordell Flott. Those would be like holes. I would say slot wide receiver is the easiest to replace, but I think they're bringing back Wan'Dale. I do think they are. So even though I think slot wide receiver is the easiest to replace, I think Wan'Dale's coming back. So then what does that mean for the other 2 guys that are involved in that? Like even Micah McFadden should be brought back, and not as you're the starting interior linebacker. He may wind up be starting, because I don't want Bobby Okereke here. So Bobby Okereke is going to get cut. Then you're talking about Micah McFadden as like the lead guy, and he's coming off this major injury. There's a lot of holes, man. There's a lot of things that this team needs to do and address to feel good about going into August. Chris, thanks for the super chat, man. Is there any chance T. Martin can be the quarterback coach? I mean, yes, I'm sure there is a chance, but every time that somebody tries to bring up T. Martin to like a reporter, like I think Art tweeted about him today, and it was just it's kind of just brushed under the rug. That's what T. Martin kind of is right now. And I don't know T. Martin. Like I haven't, obviously I don't know him, but just the resume is really, really impressive. An extensive history as a wide receiver coach at USC, offensive coordinator also at USC. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nelson Aguilar was at USC as well. He was at the University of Tennessee when Jawan Jennings was at Tennessee as well. And I really loved that draft pick and that prospect, and that he has turned into a really good pro. Jawan Jennings is an impending free agent, probably going to get way more money than he deserves, but he's a kick-ass player. And then obviously the resume that he's had, as he was a wide receiver coach with Baltimore as well for a little bit, but then he transitions to being a quarterback coach under Todd Monken and with John Harbaugh. And the maturation of Lamar Jackson as a passer over the last 3 years has really been a sight to behold. So he did get an OC interview with the Commanders and the Lions. No other interviews besides that. So I thought that there would even be a chance that he would be the OC of the Giants or even get an interview. I don't know if he got an interview. I'm going to be honest. Nobody reported who got an interview. We didn't even know that Matt Nagy got an interview. We didn't even know that Matt Nagy got a virtual interview, let alone he got an in-person interview, and let alone he got the job. So nobody knew anything. I would love to know, like, who actually got, like, substantial interviews and looks at Giants for offensive coordinator. We kind of don't even know. We kind of don't even know. So I don't think T. Martin's coming here. And also I think I was having this conversation with Sean too, because T. Martin's come up a couple times on the show. Sounds like Lamar Jackson really values T. Martin as well. So I can imagine he's not going anywhere from Baltimore. If nobody else is going to hire him and give him a promotion, he's probably just going to stay in Baltimore, be the quarterback coach for Lamar Jackson. That'll make him happy on Jesse Minter's staff. Inside the game 9, Sonny Styles at 5, or we will regret Washington grabbing a future all-pro. Draft physical freaks with good tape. I'm starting to talk myself into, I'm still early, but I did myself a favor and I started watching a lot of these top guys. I watched Carnell Tate. I watched Ruben Bain. I watched a little bit of Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs. I watched these guys early on, because when we were talking about how we want the number 1 overall pick, that's why I wanted to do that in the middle of the season. I usually don't start draft prep this early. But I started watching what's really nice about watching Ohio State tape on defense this year is that you have to watch each play like 3 or 4 times. Because I even came up today. Who did I come up on? I came up today on Caden McDonald, interior defensive lineman from Ohio State. So it's literally going to be at all levels. Caden McDonald up front, right? Who the Giants, that could be like a round 2 option. I've even seen a ton of Bears fans who want an interior defensive lineman at pick 25. I've even seen draft people talk about Caden McDonald as sneakily the best interior defensive lineman in this draft. So maybe right now, Caden McDonald at pick 37 is a little is optimistic, but I mean, who knows anything that's going to happen at this point, right? But Caden McDonald at pick 37 is now in the running. So for Ohio State, you have to watch up front. Then you have to go back and you have to watch Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. And sometimes Arvell Reese is at the edge too. So you have Caden McDonald, Arvell Reese at the edge, and you have to work your way back and watch Sonny Styles. And then you have to work your way back and watch Caleb Downs. I even he was down at the Senior Bowl, and I'm going to butcher his last name. Davison Igbinosun. He's a cornerback from Ohio State. He's from Union, New Jersey. I really like him. I like his metrics. I think he's going to be really good. He's kind of in play for the Giants, possibly at pick 105. So you literally have to watch all these players on Ohio State's defense. You have to watch the play like 4 times. Because if you want to watch 4 different players, then you got to watch them 4 different times. Crazy the amount of talent that they had. Anyway. But I'm starting to think about Sonny Styles at 5. This safety class is really rich. And I'm not saying because the safety class is really rich, that's not a reason to not take Caleb Downs. It's not a reason. But if you do pass on Caleb Downs and you want to go for a Sonny Styles, I feel really, really good about, who was the safety from Toledo who was going to go to the Senior Bowl, but then he pulled out. And I got really mad. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Oh, my God. Love. And I know they went to the same school, but you just watched Quinyon Mitchell for a couple minutes. You're like, this guy's going to be good because this guy's a kick-ass player. Feel the same thing about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Love him. So this safety class is very deep. Bud Clark, who was down at the Senior Bowl, absolutely killed it. 15 interceptions over the last 4 years. 21 passes defensed, if I have those numbers memorized correctly, over the last 4 years. Nuts, man. Nuts. So I'm considering Sonny Styles at 5. Getting a Mike linebacker here, the potential and the idea of that, getting a Mike linebacker in here that could just be the guy for the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Good, man. Love that. Desperately need it. I think Mike linebacker and interior D-line are the 2 biggest needs. This team needs to stop the run. Not even at a great level. That's not even the ask. It's don't be the worst run defense in the league. That's my main ask for 2026. Don't be a historically bad run defense. It's the bare minimum. 2 top picks in the 100s. 2 top 100 picks is crazy to think about. Yeah, Warren. I mean, it's the Warren. Hope all is well, man. Nice to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary for a team that doesn't win a lot of games. It's very scary. And I understand one of them is pick 5. and then your second round pick is early on, which is good, it's good draft value, right? But yeah, that's something that I thought that Joe Schoen, after the 2022 draft, that's something that I thought that he would do, because he was like very savvy moving back in the draft. They wound up getting Micah McFadden and Dane Belton. Those were 2 draft picks that the Giants were originally not slated to have. They moved back twice in the second round. They got extra picks. And I would say like that's great process. They got Dane Belton and Micah McFadden out of that draft for just because they moved back in the second round. And that is great and worth it. You got 2 players that you were able to keep on their rookie deals for 4 years, and they were able to be serviceable day 3 players for you. Micah McFadden at times being more than serviceable. Dane Belton's the only player on the defense that, despite him not playing a lot, and I think he's kind of a jag, but he forces turnovers. It's crazy. Kind of just like he kind of just sniffs it out. So I thought that Joe Schoen would do that more. And then in the 2023 draft, he did the opposite. He traded up 1 pick for Deonte Banks, which that hurts. And then you trade up a ton of picks for Jalen Hyatt, and that hurts because you're trading up for players that are not only bad, but then they're also costing you other players. That's what Deonte Banks and Jalen Hyatt did. They costed the Giants other players because Joe Schoen traded up to get them. So I thought he would do more of that after 2022, and he has not. He did not. Kind of insane. Dark got 1 vote. They have this weird narrative around our boy. It's a little weird that he got 1 vote. I thought that we get more than 1. Justin Herbert got 1 MVP vote by Sam Munson. I thought he would get more than 1. So, any news for additional coaches coming? O-line coach is like the final big piece that needs to fall. I think they have everything else, like major position coach-wise. Do they have a quarterback coach? I don't think they have a quarterback coach. It's quarterback coach and O-line coach. Those are the 2 major things that we're waiting to drop. The Jeff Stoutland obviously is the name that everybody wants at O-line. I'm rooting for that. I don't know what's going to happen with him. So I'm rooting for that. Changed Philly's O-line. Let's talk about Philly for a second too. Oh my God. What in the world is going on there? They could have like Lane Johnson's like, I'm open to playing for a new coach, or I'm open to retiring. Landon Dickerson, who this was a concern about Landon Dickerson coming out of Alabama, that his body is just, it was already kind of falling apart at Alabama. Now, I will say Landon Dickerson, draft pick worth it. You appear in 2 Super Bowls. You have a dominant offensive line for all those years. You win a Super Bowl. Like, that draft pick of Landon Dickerson was 100% worth it, even if he were to retire tomorrow. But still, man, like, for the future of that team, when you looked at what that offense kind of turned into, understandably bad coordinator, but when you looked at what that offense turned into without key pieces on that offensive line, and then also at certain times, like Lane Johnson would miss games even in the past too, and then it would be like, oh God, what are they going to look like? What are they going to look like? They could be falling apart a little bit. Vic Fangio kind of just keeping them up. Like, if Vic Fangio even chose to retire too, which it looks like that he's going to choose to come back for at least 1 more year, sheesh, man. Can you imagine if that happened? I'd be like worried. I'd be hashtag worried about the Eagles. I told my JM football crew of Connor and Jeff, producer Connor, and then producer Jeff, who produces this show, and then producer Connor, who used to do who would do Football Today when we were running that. What was I saying? This is unbelievable. Oh, I was talking with them this morning about the Eagles being the most toxic work environment, but for what reason? And it's always been like this. Even Donovan McNabb would like talk shit about his receivers, like guys that would make the Pro Bowl, and then he would go out and say, yeah, I don't think that guy deserved to make it. Why is the Eagles, like, what's in the water in that city? Why is it always toxic, but they win? It's like they're a 4 or 5 win team every year, and everybody's talking behind each other's backs, and everybody sucks. But they're doing that shit when they win 10, 11, 12, 13 games every year. It's crazy. There's no reason for it to be toxic. It's crazy. I don't get how experts dislike Nagy when he finished over 500 as coach for the Bears, that loved the Dable Titans OC hire when Dable was 20 games under 500 with the below average offense. I mean, Dable, there's evidence of Dable being just a good offensive mind and a designer of offense versus, I mean, those defenses that they had in Chicago were insane. And the offenses that they had in Chicago were really bad. And there's very little evidence to point to with this time in Kansas City because he wasn't a play caller outside of the last 5 games of 2017. There's very little evidence to point to as to how and why was Matt Nagy part of the success in Kansas City over the last 3 years. I mean, I will say it is to your point, Vin, it's ironic that the media will praise Saleh and Dable when there is no evidence that those two guys are good leaders of men. Like that's why I think in Tennessee it's going to inevitably kind of fail, because Robert Saleh, his main criticism with New York is that he just couldn't really run a team. His guys loved playing for him, but got to hold people accountable. And then same thing with Dable. Like I think they're very good offensive and defensive minds, and maybe it will work so well. Maybe they're so good and they're just going to hit the ground running. And then guess what? If you win football games, then maybe 2022, everything was great. You didn't need to hold people accountable because you were winning football games. So maybe it's going to work out like that. But in Tennessee, they literally picked 2 guys to kind of like run their team, and Robert Saleh. And then it also isn't, who's their defensive coordinator? Isn't he awful? He was the former Colts defensive coordinator. It was Gus Bradley. Oh my God. That was the game that Drew Lock had one of the best games ever as a quarterback, EPA per play wise. One of the best games ever, EPA per play. Drew Lock, Gus Bradley was the defense coordinator, and now he's the defense coordinator of Tennessee Titans, even though Robert Saleh is going to call the plays. It's going to be Robert Saleh's defense. Robert Saleh is going to call the plays. But that's not like from a leadership standpoint, that is not an inspiring staff. From a brain standpoint, it's inspiring. From a schematic standpoint, it's inspiring. You know, what the Giants, at least I think the Giants are doing, like offensively, Matt Nagy has been a part of a lot of winning. Even with Chicago, like you said, even with Chicago, I think he went 6-10 his final year in 2021. But other than that, 12-4 and then 2 seasons of 8-8. Even if the offense sucked, I mean, they won football games. Won football games in Kansas City. Greg Roman did a lot of winning in LA. Did a lot of winning in Baltimore. Not okay, but they're not winning Super Bowls. Okay, well, fucking Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady win Super Bowls. That's basically it. It's basically the only 2 people that win Super Bowls on a consistent basis are two quarterbacks in 2 teams. The 3 teams that those 2 quarterbacks have led. That's who's won Super Bowls at a consistent rate over the last 25 years, okay? So there you go. At least on the offense side, there's a lot. They're surrounding people that have won a lot of football games. And I think that could be part of it too. We should go after Jeff Stoutland, trade back in the second. Okay, question. Yo, JP, who would you want in the first pick? I'm so curious what you think. I think I'm leaning Caleb Downs right now, just as the best football player, the smartest football player out in the field. So then just get him, right? Is there a chance that Caleb Downs doesn't even make it to 5? Right? Like if you're talking about who's just the best players in this draft, are teams going to kind of throw I don't really care about positional value or safety. I don't care about that right now. What I care about for the Giants is getting playmakers on this team and good football players. Good football players who can make plays for you. Screw position, right? Caleb Downs is going to go before 5, and then that's what leads me to think Sonny Styles. Literally, like, they could go any route, and without getting like, oh my God, I know every single thing about these players at this stage. They could go any route, and I could be like, all right, if they go with the lineman, it's like, all right, well then, okay, Jermaine Illuminor, or forget about Jermaine Illuminor. They can go with the lineman on right tackle. They can get a right tackle in here, future right tackle. Like, all right, I feel really good about this offensive line and the future of this offensive line and the ceiling of this offensive line. Great. They can go Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson. I think I prefer Tate. Tyson has some injury concerns, but they can go Carnell Tate. And I'm like, oh my God, that means we have Malik Neighbors and one of these receivers that we just took in the first round. We just created our own T. Higgins and Jamar Chase scenario that Jackson Dart can be throwing these guys the ball for the next 3 to 4 years before we have to pay any of them, right? Before you really have to pay any of them, you can go 3 to 4 years. Awesome. We just created our own Cincinnati Bengals scenario. Or you can go a defensive player, which I think they desperately need. You can go Arvar Reese, who can be this jack of all trades type of player that can be an edge rusher, but he can also be a Mike linebacker, and he can do kind of anything. And I don't think Arvar Reese, I'm not putting Arvar Reese in the same box as Isaiah Simmons, as you have to just pick a position. I think Arvar Reese can play a position. We've seen guys like Leo Chanel be able to play that position where he is this off-ball linebacker, he is an interior linebacker, but then you can also put him up against a tackle, and he can be effective that way as well. We've seen it. Now, do you want to take that guy at pick 5? That would be a question. The jack of all trades type of player. If you're taking a player in the top 5, top 10, you want that guy to produce box score results. And I think Arvar Reese still very much can. You can take Sonny Styles, that Mike linebacker. You could take Caleb Downs, and just you get your Kyle Hamilton ideally, right? I am right now, I'm not talking myself out of any option. It's just a matter of, like, when you compare the talent at pick 5, is Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson, are they the type of players that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors were at the top of the draft, right? Rome Odunze. Are they like the caliber of players? Like, probably not. Probably not. I don't get the sense of that Carnell Tate is this awesome, explosive athlete and just ultra can't miss prospect like Malik Neighbors was a couple years ago. I don't. So that's the challenging part about this draft. The top end talent, is it actually top 5, top 10 talent? But also, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not take those guys? No, you're going to take those players. Doesn't matter what they are compared to who was drafted a couple years ago. You're going to take the guys that are the best players that you think are available and are there. So there you go. Open anything right now. Did you make a video on the hiring of Dawn Aponte? No, I did not make it. Nelson, what's going on? I did not make a video, but I love that hire. Basically, she is filling the void of Kevin Abrams. And she has an awesome, awesome resume. And she was also hired on National Women in Sports Day as well, which I thought that was pretty neat. She was an accountant for the Jets from 94 to 01. She's literally been everywhere. Salary cap analyst and pro personnel assistant for the Jets 01 to 03. Still with the Jets all the way until 2005, where she eventually became the senior director of football administration. And she worked for the NFL league office for 3 years. Then with the Cleveland Browns in 09 to 10, vice president of football administration. Then she was with Joe Schoen with the Dolphins. 2010 to 2012, I believe Joe Schoen started with the Dolphins in 2008. So she was with the Dolphins in 2010, senior vice president of football operations. And then she was promoted after 2012, executive vice president of football administration for the Dolphins until 2016. Then the last 9 years, she's been the chief administrator of football operations with the NFL. And then now she is the senior vice president of football operations, dealing with contracts and the salary cap. I think she's a kick-ass lady, and I'm excited for her. Excited that this is literally like a ironic merit-based hire, right? Like, you're off of your resume. She's been interviewed for GM jobs in the past, interviewed for the Jets GM job when that was last open, and then also the Chargers GM job when that was last open two off seasons ago. She got interviews for both. So ironically enough, replacing Kevin Abrams, who we were told was so qualified and was told that can get job offers. Has Kevin Abrams landed on his feet yet? Where's his promotion coming if he's so highly sought after? I'm excited about Dawn Aponte. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see if the cap is managed any differently now. Giants are the only team in the NFL that don't use any void years. Now that you have Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter, Malik Neighbors all on their rookie deals, are they going to be more aggressive? We'll see. Do you think the Giants realistically could find a trade partner and stay in the top 15? Yeah, I hope they wouldn't fall to 15. I hope that they would maybe I hope that they could stay within the top 10. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility of them trading back and then staying within the top 10, and also trading back for a non-quarterback. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, knowing how aggressive certain teams have been. Like, remember even the Texans a couple years ago. I mean, they traded up for Will Anderson, and that was a non-quarterback. Like, they just took C.J. Stroud. They trade up for Will Anderson, a back-to-back pick. So it can be done. Can be done. Like, and I would take a return that isn't all that great, to be honest. I would take a return that, like, just to garner more top 100 picks. I would take it. So, Anthony Betts, what's going on, man? I will admit, thanks for hanging out, Anthony. I don't know a ton about, like, I don't have like these bios in my brain about all these coaches around the NFL. I really don't. So Juan Castillo as an offensive line coach, let's look him up right now. Anthony Betts seems to be going that way. And I'll believe Anthony Betts because Anthony Betts knows what he's talking about. So he was part of the San Antonio Gunslingers from 1984 to 1985. If that interests you. Syracuse offensive line coach. Here it is. Michigan, 2025, senior assistant offensive line coach. But that wasn't with any of the Harbaughs, no? Offensive line coach from UCLA, 2024. Commanders run game coordinator, 2023. Tight ends coach with the Commanders, 2022. Bears offensive line coach from 20 to 20. Oh, here it is. Michigan, 2019. He was an analyst. And I think that's when Jim Harbaugh was there. So there's a little bit of tie. Oh, and of course, he was the offensive line coach with the Ravens from 14 to 16. I should have worked my way up. I should have looked at the full bio before I ran my mouth. Run game coordinator for the Ravens in 2013. And then he was the longtime Eagles offensive line coach, 1998 to 2010. And that's also when John Harbaugh was there. Okay, so this is the ultimate. This is like the ultimate ties to the Harbaugh family. Okay. Juan Castillo. Keep an eye out. Thank you, Anthony Betts, for putting him on my radar. All right, anything else? This has been longer than I thought that I would talk. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Because I think it's going to be the Seahawks. And I don't think that's a stretch. They're favored by 4.5 points. I hope it's not a blowout. I don't think it'll be a blowout. This game, you're going to be shocked when I say this with the Super Bowl. You're going to be shocked. But I think this game's going to come down to big plays. This game will come down to big plays. Also going to come down to special teams, too. Both of these special teams units are very, very good. But big plays. And I think the Seahawks have the major leg up in the explosive play category. Because I think they just have way more answers. Like, I think they have Rashid Shaheed, obviously. They have JSN that, everybody and their mother knows that JSN is going to be getting the ball. They're still going to throw it to him. I think the scheme that Kubiak runs of marrying the run and the pass, I don't know if you're going to confuse Mike Vrabel in that defense because they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this now. But I just think it's so hard to defend when you have play action passes and outside zone scheme, when it all just looks the same. And then you have that back end talent of Shaheed and also Cooper Kupp, who has experience in these moments as well and having some really plus plays. And I think the Seahawks defense right now is just at a point where they can put whatever personnel they want out there and they will have an advantage. They don't need to have big bodies out there to stop the run. They're one of the best defenses in the league, like in dime and nickel personnel of still stopping the run. And I think Nick Anamori is a huge part of that. You have cornerbacks that are willing tacklers. Like, they all work together so well. That front is so dangerous. And Mike McDonald runs a defense. Like, play the game this Sunday. When you're watching, play the game of Mike McDonald is showing some elaborate blitz package at the line, right? And he's showing that he's going to bring 6, 7, 8 guys. He's not going to bring 6, 7, 8 guys. He's going to bring 4 to 5, but challenge yourself and play the game with you and your buddies, especially if you're diehard football fans. Play the game with your buddies. Who's going to come? Call it out before the snap. I think this guy. Play. It's a fun game. It's a fun-ass game. I've made some shorts on JM Football about it before. He does it better than anybody. Man. So that's the fun game, and I think the Seahawks are just going to have too many answers offensively and defensively. and I think the Seahawks are going to win it. And I think it's going to come down to big plays. And I don't think the Pats are going to produce enough. And I think the Seahawks are going to produce just enough. And I think, especially with the way that special teams being an advantage, right? Either team could take a ball back to the house, or even either team can really, really have good starting field position. So if you're starting at the 35, 40-yard line on a consistent basis, one 20-yard play gets you in field goal range. And when you cross the 50-yard line, I think the playbook can just open up. You can get a lot more aggressive. You're going to see teams just be more aggressive and go for it on fourth down when you cross the 50-yard line. And that will play into whoever's hands, whoever crosses the 50-yard line more, which I think the Seahawks will be that offense that does, that's just going to play right into their hands. And I think they're going to be the ones to dictate the terms of the game. So there you go. That's Super Bowl talk. I wanted to get that off my chest. Didn't have an episode in the latter part of the week. I think the Seahawks are going to win. Appreciate it, bro. I'm also not sure they're picking at 5 as we sit here today. Things are fluid with that currently. Yeah, I would love for them to garner another top 100 pick. Love. I need an Anthony Betts. I need it very badly. I do not want to sit after they make that round 2 pick. I do not want to sit for an entire day, an entire night, and have to wait for them to. It would be an entire day at that point, because then the day 3 starts at noon on Saturday. I do not want to have to wait that long for them to make another pick. That would suck. So, all right, appreciate everybody hanging out. Friday live stream. Whoa, microphone falling down. Nice and digestible for you. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Sean and I are going to be back on Tuesday. Talk about the Super Bowl, and then talk about our offensive report card episode. Go listen to both episodes this week. Our defensive report card episode, which was really long, if you need something on your way home, and then also the Matt Nagy episode. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. We'll see you the latter part of the week. Maybe I'll do more of these late week live streams because I'm bored at the warehouse. Nothing much to do. Have a good weekend. Go Super Bowl. Go Giants. Go football.